I'd like to invite Dr. Chinny Krishna. He's going to talk about the sands of time, we as a federation, a brief history of a timeline on the animal protection movement. No, Dr. Chinny doesn't require any introduction, but I'll just do it. Yeah, he's the chairman emeritus of FIAPO and the founder of the Blue Cross of India, Chennai. Previously, he has held 2 terms. Previously, he has held 2 terms as the vice chairman of the Animal Welfare Board of India. He's honored by the HSI with a Lifetime Achievement Award and is referred as the grand old man. I think it should be the grand young man of animal welfare in India. In 2002, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award of the Venu Menon Animal Allies Foundation from the Vice President of India. And from 1996 to 2002, Dr. Krishna served as the member of the central government's CPSCEA, which is a government's committee for the purpose of control and supervision of experiments on animals. Yeah, Dr. Krishna.
One by one, the brothers died, Draupadi died, and finally Yudhishthira reaches heaven with his faithful companion. And he's welcomed by Indra, who comes in his chariot and asks Yudhishthira to get on to enter heaven. At which point Yudhishthira says, "What about my dog?" And Indra says, "I'm sorry, but dogs are not allowed in heaven." And Yudhishthira says, in that case, I'd have no intention to come to heaven. And then the dog turns out to be Yama, and both of them go into heaven. So that was one of the earlier references to animal welfare and animal compassion and love that is available in this country. But over 1,000 years before that, that's about 6,000 years ago, and my wife stole that line from my talk because I unfortunately asked her for the exact reference. The Rig Veda had mentioned in a prayer that, "O Lord, to the eaters of flesh and those who prevent the calf drinking its mother's milk, chop off their heads." So that Anand Shiva will be very happy that there was a first plug for veganism 6,000 years ago. In any case, Neminatha, the 23rd Jain Tirthankara, was about to get married when he saw the large number of animals being penned up and being prepared for slaughter for his wedding feast, at which point he renounced everything and went away into the forest. This was well before both Mahavira and Buddha. And then, of course, 2,550 years ago, we had Buddha and Mahavira who both preached compassion, who both preached vegetarianism. And as a matter of fact, even though if there are any Buddhists here, they can correct me, but the Mahayana Buddhism preaches veganism. Even today, travelers to Japan and China, travelers from India especially who are vegetarian and who may find it difficult to get vegetarian food over there, go into these Buddhist temples and are served pure vegan food. The influence of vegetarianism in India was so great that around 1600 AD, Akbar, who inherited his father's zoos, made sure that all the animals were kept in very large enclosures, open enclosures, very large cages. And he banned all slaughter of all animals in the 4 months of Chaturmas and on several other occasions. And it was about the same time, 1600 AD or so, that Ahmedabad built a Pinjara pole, that's a home for old disabled animals, the Dabla Pinjara pole, which was visited by British and other soldiers who went back to England and who had been so inspired by the work of the Dabla Pinjara pole that Richard Martin set up the RSPCA in 1824 based on the Pinjara poll. 50 years later, the American SPCA set up its thing in the US based on the RSPCA. In 1861, the first SPCA was set up in India, in Calcutta, followed fairly rapidly by the SPCAs at Madras and Bombay. So we had a long history of what was going on. Between 1953 and 1956, there were several charters prepared on animal issues and the rights of animals. It's brought out in a beautiful book, which is available even today, which you can get on Amazon, by Claude Nouet. And in that, he gives you a list of all the declarations for animal welfare and animal rights that were brought out in those 3 years. In 1956, we had Rukmini Devi, who wanted to replace the old Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act of 1890 with a slightly modernized version, which became law in 1960. The Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, which really requires to be changed, especially since, unfortunately, the penalties were built into the law itself. It should have been separately as a rule. So a law which requires a 50 rupee maximum fine today is ridiculous. Just a year before the PC Act became law, the Blue Cross of India was started in Madras. It was the first of a new generation, a new genre of animal welfare organizations which looked at all aspects of animal welfare, animals in entertainment, animals used for food, animals used in experimentation, and it has been working a lot on this and on humane education for the last 55 years. In 1972, the Wildlife Protection Act came into force, and while many people think that this is the first law banning the hunting of wild animals in India, it's not really true, because in 1929, the state of Travancore had banned all hunting in Travancore. So the animal welfare aspect in India is very, very strong. In 1976, our constitution brought in the Article 51AG and 51AH, which made it the fundamental duty of all Indians to have compassion for all living creatures and for the environment. In 1997, Kadri was mentioning about the CPCSA and the rules. Actually, the CPCSA came into existence in 1965, following an international seminar held by the Blue Cross in Madras in 65, which was presided over by Rukmini Devi. And in 68, on October 4th, 1968, on the birthday of St. Francis of Assisi, the CPCSA published its first set of guidelines governing animal experimentation. These are the oldest guidelines for animal experimentation brought out by any government in the world. Unfortunately, there was no penalty attached to breaking the rules and the guidelines. So, like most laws in India, these remain unimplemented. And it was only much later that the Indian National Science Academy came out with a set of guidelines in 1992 on animal experimentation. In 1998, the government banned the use of five species of animals as performing animals: the bear, the lion, the tiger, the panther, and the monkey. There was a sixth there, which was the elephant, which was rapidly removed because of objections from religious groups. But earlier to this, Mrs. Norma Alvarez, the only Padma Shri awardee in the country for animal welfare, had already fought for many years against bullfighting in Goa, the Derio. And ultimately it was banned due to her efforts. It still goes on clandestinely, there is absolutely no doubt. But then, as I said, most laws in India are not implemented. Okay, June 2010, it's the same thing, but I'd like to now concentrate a little bit on the more recent rules and laws, because most of the people here have been involved in animal welfare only for the last 15 or 20 years. So, 2000, the Kerala High Court upheld the notification by the MOF about the use of the animals in entertainment. In 2001, the government of India brought in the stray dog rules, also known as the ABC rules, which were once again the first country in the world to go non-kill and to make sure that only sterilization and neutering of animals is used as a method of population control. In 2006, the Bombay High Court brought in a law saying that the Animal Welfare Board had to issue a no objection certificate to any person making a film where animals were being used. And then in 2007, we set up FIAPO. And FIAPO was actually set up because I was at that time not a member of the board. I had served as vice chairman for one term earlier, which a board had omitted from 1996 to 2000. And at that time itself, there was a lot of talk about the chairman and the vice chairman of the board, who are non-officials. We get paid nothing for being on the board. We don't even get sitting fees. Norma has been on the board, I think, for 16 years and has not collected sitting fees for even one meeting that she attended of the board. And she attended every one that went on. At least I was from Madras, so I didn't have much travel to do. She used to come all the way from Goa, changing 2 planes each way. And we know that the non-officials were not being looked upon kindly by the ministry. The bureaucrats and the ministers don't like non-politicians. And therefore, in 2007, when FIAPO was set up, it was really set up to bring all the animal welfare groups together so that we could represent our common problems and issues to the authorities concerned. And in 2010, it was officially registered as a non-profit, and you know the rest from there. In 2011, we have had a lot of landmark judgments. I mean, Radhakrishnan's judgment is only the icing on the cake, really, because if you look at it, the Gujarat High Court in 2011 had ruled that no bird should be kept in a cage. Every bird should be free. In 2013, the Animal Welfare Board banned dolphinaria in the country, following a major issue we had in Madras, where somebody set up a dolphinarium. The sea lions and the dolphins all died within 6 months because they had nobody to treat them properly. The water was not maintained at the correct temperature. The chlorine contents were high. But the Animal Welfare Board had this banned by a notification. In May 2014, the landmark judgment of Radhakrishnan finally banning Jallikattu. The issue had been going on for many years because Justice Bhanumati, who went on to the Supreme Court, had already ruled 10 years earlier that Jallikattu is illegal under the PC Act. The Tamil Nadu government immediately passed an ordinance making it legal. And incidentally, Nagaraja, in whose name the entire battle was fought, did not file the case because he was interested in animals. He filed the case because his son was killed in a Jallikattu event. And he asked the government, how can you permit such barbaric events to take place where people get killed? And we were losing over 1,000 people to severe injuries every year. At least 25 to 30 were getting killed every year in these Jallikattu events. Forget the suffering of the bulls concerned. Okay, 2014, the Consumer Court in Bombay held that pets can use lifts because there were a lot of societies there which said if you have a pet, you have to walk down the steps, even if it's 5 flights. And ultimately, somebody went to court and they had it ruled. The Shimla High Court ruled in 2014 against sacrifice. In 2015, the ABC rules that had been challenged were upheld by the Bombay High Court. In 2015, we had another landmark judgment where the Supreme Court asked that all animals crossing the border into Gazimai be stopped by the Border Security Force because they were being taken to Nepal to be slaughtered over there. 2016, Rajasthan High Court banned stonga racing. In 2017, the central government brought out notifications on other things concerning animal welfare. So for those of you who feel that we are not where we should be, I've been involved for almost 60 years. And I know how much difference has taken place in the last 20 years. We are moving, and we are moving quite fast. I mean, we have to be willing to be patient enough to obtain results. And with that, thank you very much.